Hey guys, so today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's something that I've been really wanting to do, but I just haven't gotten around to it, and I've been kind of lazy and didn't really know how to go about it, and I'm still, I'm still learning how to do this whole YouTube thing. But here's the thing. We are moving just to a different location in Gilbert, the town that we live. Anyway, we are moving, and we're moving in about a month. So it's the end of July now. It's towards the end of July now, and we will be moving towards the end of August, beginning of September. So we're moving pretty quickly, right? And so we've already had a staging woman come, and she came and took pictures and basically told us how to set up our house for the market, and so we're just going on pretty much packing everything up. We've packed up quite a bit of stuff already, not really, but we've packed up a few things, and I decided that it was time for me to pack up my makeup and get going with that. It is storming outside. You definitely can't see it, but it's like a thunderstorm outside right now, and it's just great and cozy. And so I just decided that I was going to film because I'm really not that tired. Today's video is going to be my eyeshadow palette collection, and so I have a lot of eyeshadow palettes, more than one person needs, but less than a regular beauty YouTuber. Anyway, enough rambling. Let's get on with this video. So right here I just have my IKEA Alex 9 drawer. On top I keep some of my larger eyeshadow palettes along with some of my newer eyeshadow palettes here. I also have just some of my perfumes. Actually, it's like the only 3 that I own, and it's just the Versace Bright Crystal, the Juicy Couture, and the Calvin Klein Into You. Over here I have a little Nako cat. This is a little Nako cat that my grandparents got, and it's my only Nako cat that I have, so I like to keep that there. And this USSSA Tournament Champions ring. I play slow pitch softball, and this is the ring that we actually won for winning co-champs. And this guy right here, which is a ring holder, but it is a little tiny giraffe, and it's just my favorite. Giraffes are definitely my favorite wild animal. However, they were also my grandma's favorite wild animal, and she has passed on, so I collect them now just to kind of keep her memory alive in my family and in my household. But let's go ahead and just get into these eyeshadow palettes. So I just have the James Charles Morphe palette, and I got this palette for my birthday, I believe 2 years ago. It was when I turned 25, and my boyfriend, his daughter, and her now fiance picked this one up for me. It was something that I wanted really, really bad. So this palette actually means a lot to me, just because they surprised me. I had absolutely no idea. This is the Juvia's Place Masquerade palette, and it's just a bunch of colorful and neutrals all mixed in one. And this is the largest Juvia's Place palette that I own. Next I have the Mirage palette by Profusion. Profusion is one of those super underrated drugstore brands that you can pick up, I believe, at Walmart. I know that they have some they usually have it a little bit at Target, and they also have it available at TJ Maxx. Next, I have 2 of the larger ColourPop palettes. I have the Bare Necessities one, which is just a bunch of neutrals. Mine is really, really messy, if you guys can't tell, but this one, I just love this palette so much. It's a bunch of neutrals and berry tones. And next I have the So Jaded palette by ColourPop and Kathleen Lights. I have not used this palette yet. It's just a new purchase for me. But I'm very, very excited. I've seen a bunch of reviews on this palette and I'm super excited to try it out. You guys will learn soon in the rest of my makeup collection that I have a small obsession with Kathleen lights that I'm not afraid to talk about. Next, I have the Violet Voss Holy Grail eyeshadow palette. And I got this one in a boxy charm, and this one is just, you can tell I've loved this palette a lot. It's one of my favorites and I've used this a million times, and it's literally like a holy grail palette of mine. So love this palette. Oh, by the way, I got this in a Boxy Luxe. I got this in Boxy Luxe, I believe, at Christmas time. The Warrior palette by Juvia's Place. And this one is just, again, huge eyeshadow pans. And these are just warm neutrals again. And they're just fabulous. I love these shadows. You can't really tell that I've used this too much, but I know that I have. And these pigments, like, these eyeshadows have like crazy. Anyway, so I love this palette. It's one of my favorites. Next down here is the only Natasha Denona palette that I own. But anyway, this is the Sunrise palette by Natasha Denona, and let me just say, I've heard about Natasha Denona's eyeshadow palettes and how they're amazing, awesome quality, but this palette right here, I believe, is truly worth the price tag. It was $65, and I'm happy that I spent this money, and I'm happy that I took a chance on it because it is amazing. Next, I have two of my favorite Anastasia ones. I have the Modern Renaissance, which this one is a brand new one, but like this specific palette was my very first high-end purchase. I love this palette. Juicy Jazz, she's one of my favorite YouTubers, also one of the only YouTubers that I ever watched when I first started getting into makeup, and she's the reason why I bought it. So I created a bunch of different looks using my original palette, which I have stored in a drawer. And yes, so this is definitely another favorite holy grail of mine. So Modern Renaissance, love you. Next is the Soft Glam palette, which I've only used this, I believe, once. The Anastasia eyeshadow formula is probably my favorite high-end formula. So yeah, so that is the Soft Glam palette. Next, I have the Hidden Treasures palette by Dose of Colors. This one has a very strange layout to it. It actually is the reason why I wanted this palette so bad, was the layout of this. And it's just because it's like so different. I don't know, it bothers a lot of people, but it doesn't bother me. It actually intrigued me, and that's the reason why I wanted it so bad. Very, very excited to use it. This palette is from Zoeva, and it is the Cocoa Blend palette. Haven't even dug into this one yet, but I'm seriously so excited. This palette was actually purchased because Kathleen Lights raved about this in her eyeshadow palette collection. You see where I'm going with the fact that I have a small obsession with her? Okay. Next, I have the Hello Charmers palette by Boxy Charm, and I again have not used this palette. I've swatched all of these shimmers just to see and make sure that they were good. You guys, don't judge me on not trying out a lot of these eyeshadow palettes that I have in my collection, okay? I can hear you. Don't judge. Okay guys, so now we are down to the bottom two drawers of my IKEA Alex 9 drawer. So the first drawer here is a bunch of my smaller eyeshadow palettes, like the little ones that are a little bit more compact and smaller. And the very bottom drawer is a bunch of my larger, longer palettes. Because this is an eyeshadow palette collection, we're just gonna go right ahead and show you what we have in here. First off, back here, way back here, I have these three e.l.f. bite-sized eyeshadow palettes, and I talked about these in a recent e.l.f. video that I did. And we have this one here, which is the Berry Bad palette, and I actually really like this one. I really like this one, especially for the fall time. I definitely like this one a lot. Then we have this one in Rosewater. No, this is the eyeshadow palette. This is probably my favorite of them all, just because there's two matte shades and the shimmers show up really well, and transition shade right here is gorgeous. And then I have this one in Cream and Sugar, and this one I really like a lot, but I feel like I just needed like a matte transition shade that went right here. But these are the only e.l.f. eyeshadows that I own now, aside from the Retro Paradise one right here, which I haven't even tried out yet. I haven't even opened it. I'm planning to do a video on most of the collection here soon. But yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about this palette, and so I'm excited to use it. Next, I have these two Wet n Wild palettes, these little trios, if you will. And this one is super old. I don't even think they sell this one anymore, and it is called the I'm Getting Sunburnt palette and the Walking on Eggshells trio. This one here, they actually created a they created a quad of it, but I actually really love this one. And this one here is just really great. This brown is delicious, and so is this gold right here. It is like a true bronze shade. Oh, just gorgeous. Perfection. This Wet n Wild quad now is part of Wet n Wild's new packaging that they did. This is the Silent Treatment quad, and I actually really love this. This is perfect for traveling. Next, I have two eyeshadow palettes from NYX. This one here is the Love Lust Disco Foil Play eyeshadow palette, and I love this palette. It is just like glitter top coats. They don't swatch very well, and you have to really like build them up and stuff. And I actually use this on, like, I like to use these on matte black shades. I did a matte black look, and I put matte black shadow all over my lid, and I put this one over here on top of it, and it looked gorgeous. So I'm really excited. I would like to show you guys how I did that look, but I really liked this one a lot. And this one here is just the Glitter Goals quad. Not even opened yet, you guys. Like, I was just about to try and open it and show you guys, and it's not even open. There we go. And I don't know why, but I've just been really in love with glitter shades lately. And I got this because I thought maybe that these glitters were a dupe for an Urban Decay eyeshadow palette that I have that literally just has glitters in it. And so I got this to test them side by side to each other, because maybe this was a more affordable option. Next, I have the Huda Beauty Warm Brown Obsessions palette, and I got this, I believe, in an Ipsy Glam bag, and I'm so happy that I didn't cancel before this, because I actually love this palette. It's perfect for traveling because it's so small and compact, and it has literally everything you could need. Like, it has all of the matte transition shades, like these two matte transition shades, and then everything you would need for the outer corners, and a nice shimmer shade if you wanted to spice it up a little bit. And it is perfect. So tiny, so compact. Look at it, just fits in my hand. Next, we have the Blushing Berries palette from Dose of Colors. I might not be part of the in crowd when I say this, but I am not a big fan of these. These are super powdery, hard to blend. I got this in a BoxyCharm, and I filmed the video, and it was like a complete fail. I should probably keep this out and try it over again. Maybe I wasn't using the right kind of brushes. I wasn't a big fan of this, but I kept it anyway because I wanted to try it out again, because you can't judge anything off of first impressions. Like, out of those specific Dose of Colors palettes, I was just expecting a little bit more because they were so hyped up on the internet. Next, I have two of these smaller eyeshadow palettes from Smashbox. This one here is the Nova Eye palette, and it has just some beautiful cool tones. I really like these shades over here. This one looks like a nice little duochrome, like a purple and blue duochrome. See, look at that, it's just beautiful. And I've never tried this palette before, but I'm so excited now that I've swatched it and now that I've opened it and looked at it. I got this for Christmas, and I have yet to use it, but I'm really excited. And this one here, I have used, and it reminds me a lot of the e.l.f. Cream and Sugar palette, so maybe I will do a video and test out the two side by side. But this one is just a bunch of like neutrals. I did have an eyeshadow look for this one, and I have used this one and I did really like it. So this one I thought would be perfect for traveling as well. And these two came in a set for the holidays, so I got them both for Christmas. Over here I have 3 eyeshadow palettes from Wet n Wild. This one here is the Not a Basic Peach palette, and I actually bought this one because we went on a San Diego trip and I forgot all of my makeup. I only took brushes. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I only packed my brushes and I forgot everything else. And so we went to, I think, Rite Aid, and I picked this one out and I actually really like it. It was different for me. It was something that was out of my comfort zone, so I picked this one up and I love it. I'm so happy that I did. The only problem is that I heard that Wet n Wild is no longer cruelty free, but I'm not 100% certain. I haven't done the research on it for myself. This one here I've never even opened, but I got this because it looks like an exact dupe for the Modern Renaissance by Anastasia. So I definitely picked this up because I was interested in doing a dupes video, because if it is a dupe, then it's a great option for someone who's on a budget, or if you just don't feel like spending the $45 on the Anastasia one, then this would be great. And next is the holy grail of Wet n Wild ones, and this is the Comfort Zone palette. So I picked this one up because I was on the hunt for it before it got reformulated and repackaged, and this is what it looked like. I was too late for the original one, so I got the new one. Next I have the Too Faced Sparkling Pineapple Eyeshadow Palette, and I actually found this one at TJ Maxx, which I know some people are like, oh, how can you shop at TJ Maxx and use their makeup, whatever it is. But I mean, I looked at it before I bought it, and it's brand spanking new. It's never been swatched or anything like that, because if you actually open up some of these stuff from TJ Maxx, you can definitely tell that it's been swatched. I'm not gonna lie to you, I got this because I love this packaging. My sisters and I were kind of like obsessed with pineapples. Taylor, my middle sister, more than the other two of us, but I just love this, and so when I look at this palette it makes me think of my sister, so it gives me a little piece of home when I look at this palette. Next I have the Semi Precious ColourPop palette, and this one is just full of a bunch of their pressed shimmer shadows. I actually got this in a BoxyCharm. It was like one of my first few BoxyCharms that I've ever gotten, and I love this palette. I use it as an accent palette a lot because obviously it's a shimmer palette, like it's full of shimmers. You can't get a full look just using this one palette, but I love this palette, specifically this red right here. Are you kidding me? ColourPop has amazing, awesome quality eyeshadows. Their formula is insane, and I just love it. I have thought long and hard about decluttering this palette a long time ago, and I just cannot seem to part with it. So that is the reason why it still lives in my collection. Next, I've thought long and hard about even sharing this palette. I know Kat Von D has had a lot of drama. Anyway, this is the Alchemist Holographic palette, and I bought this because I saw that it was on sale, and I feel like these again could be really great eyeshadow toppers. Like if I put a matte black all over my lid. Oh, that's me, hi. But if I put a matte black all over my lid and I put one of these shadows on top of it, I feel like it could look really nice and really good. So that's why I got this palette and picked it up, and it's really sleek and compact, and it, you know, it's really small and it's cute. So please don't judge me for having this palette. Next, I have my favorite little 9-pan eyeshadow palette from ColourPop. I have the Going Coconuts palette. I featured this in a one brand tutorial of only using ColourPop cosmetics, and I actually tried this out for the first time in that video, and I'm so happy that I picked this one up because I love this palette. It would be great for traveling. It would be great for any kind of neutral look that you are trying to achieve. This would be great for beginners, so I definitely would recommend this palette if you are looking for a great neutral palette that is affordable. I believe this was only like $9 or $12 or something like that, and you get 9 eyeshadows. So this is great. The next two that I have are from the Frozen collection with ColourPop. The Frozen 2 collection, I should say. The Anna palette is actually really, really good. I have a really hard time talking bad about ColourPop, and this palette I feel like is just really, really good, and I feel like you can get enough decent looks out of it that it's worth it to me personally. Also, the Disney freak in me, Disney collector in me, I love it just to have it. I even saved the boxes that they came in. I got them for Christmas and I got the full collections, and so I even saved the boxes so I could put them on display. Yeah, that's me. I'm that type. Okay? Don't judge. The Elsa palette, however, is just not as good of a palette. The shadows are a little blotchy, like this one down here. It's just a little blotchy for me, a little chalky, harder to blend, and it made me really sad because I was like, what the heck? Like, this is not ColourPop formula in here. Like, this is not their regular quality eyeshadows. So I don't know what happened. Maybe I got a dud, but I heard a lot of people saying that about, specifically about this Elsa palette. So I don't know what happened. Maybe it's just the darker colors that they tried to use, but something happened in the manufacturing where it just is not as good of quality as the other eyeshadow palettes that ColourPop comes out with. But again, the collector in me, I love this palette still. And I can't get rid of it. This palette here is the Kitten palette by Winky Lux. My camera is gonna die. I got this palette in a BoxyCharm, and it was one of my original boxes that I got when they were still $21 a month, and I love this palette. I've held on to it because I love this peanut butter shade right here. Love this palette. Okay guys, so it is the next day. I literally had to stop mid video because my camera was dying. So we are just going to start right where we left off. I have 3 Makeup Revolution palettes, and I have this one here, and this is the Reloaded Velvet Rose palette, and I actually love this palette. Makeup Revolution makes amazing, awesome quality products, and it's so affordable. Like, what? That is beaming. And I'm like so impressed by all of their stuff. They have some of my favorite makeup products, and I do actually have a one brand tutorial coming up. Definitely loving this palette for sure. Next, this one is, I believe, a dupe for the Urban Decay Naked 3 palette, I want to say. And I haven't actually tested this one out. I just got it, and so I wanted to test it out in that one brand tutorial, so stay tuned for that. I'm definitely going to be using this one for sure. Even though I haven't tested this one out, I'm sure it's great. The only one that I tend to have some issues with is this one here. This one, I fell in love with this, with like the greens in here and this yellow. If you couldn't tell, I'm obsessed with yellows right now, but I've just really been interested in wanting like more greens and yellows and stuff like that in my collection just for fall coming up. One of my first high-end purchases, I think this was my second high-end purchase that I ever made, and this is the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes palette. And I literally, when I got this palette, I used it non-stop. I just loved everything about this. I mixed these shades with a single eyeshadow from ColourPop, and that was my look for literally like 2 weeks. And this is just literally, and it smells amazing. It smells like a very light, like peach yogurt. This shade right here in Fresh Picked is the perfect transition shade I've ever had in anything. Like in any single palette that I have. This is it right here. If you're looking for a good like warm berry matte palette, this is your girl. My next 2 palettes will add to my Kathleen Lights obsession, and that is the Dream Street palette and the Zodiac palette by ColourPop. Like, you have no idea how much I just love Kathleen Lights. So if you like take these 2 shades out, it's really a neutrals palette. So don't get like overwhelmed when you look at it. It's really good stuff, and I love Kathleen Lights. So and the next one I got is the Zodiac palette, and I really love this honestly for just the packaging. I don't really get too many things for packaging alone, but this was one of them that I got, because if you open it up, it's like a crazy amount of colors. I really like the shimmers in here because this is honestly very good ColourPop formula. I love ColourPop and I love Kathleen Lights, so just amazing. But look at this packaging, you guys. And then when you turn it over, like, it's like all of the signs are just like hanging out over here. Isn't it just so pretty? Oh my gosh. Next, I have this Ace Beauté Scarlet Dusk palette. And again, this is just a bunch of warm berry shades. I got this one in a BoxyCharm, and I do get like modern Renaissance vibes from this one as well. I did a look with this palette, and I did actually really like how it came out. I just would probably have to test it out again. I really need to do like a shop my stash video, utilize all of the makeup in my collection. Love this one, the Nubian palette by Juvia's Place. Amazing. I literally love this palette so much, not even just for the packaging, because I feel like Juvia's Place has the best packaging in the world, but this is just a bunch of warm neutral shades, and I love this palette. You can tell it's a mess, and I literally love this palette. If you don't have this palette, I definitely would recommend this one if you are a beginner. Juvia's Place, check it out. They're expanding their brand. And this palette by Makeup Revolution, I actually found this at TJ Maxx, and it was kind of like one of those, like, I'm gonna take a risk and just get it, because it was just like this, but there was like tape right here. And when I open it up, I get like, again, Urban Decay Naked 3 vibes from this, and I really actually like this. You know, it's got everything that you could possibly need to create a nice look. So now we are going to move into the larger palette drawer. And this is where I have most of my high-end palettes, just because high-end palettes are normally a little bit larger. So this palette here, I bought literally just because of the packaging. I bought this because I am a Disney freak. I mean, the quality of it is not bad at all. It's like pretty decent. I mean, I just personally think, like, you know, like there's other better quality ones out there, but I love just looking at this palette. It just makes me happy, so got it. And this one here, I literally haven't even touched. And it is from Storybook Cosmetics, and it is the Little Briar Rose palette, and I haven't even touched this palette. You guys know I've in and out of a funk with my channel and with makeup, so I guess I should just dig through this and test this one out. The only thing is that I don't like how bulky this packaging is. Like, it's literally the size of a book, and why? Like, why? But it's cute, I get it, but it's just really bulky for me. Here I have the Urban Decay Moon Dust palette. If you're familiar with their Moon Dust single shadows, they just put a bunch of them in a palette. These are really just glitter top coats, and I just really love this. Like honestly, like, look at that. Look at that. It's just gorgeous. So I love this palette. It's amazing. You obviously can't create a full look just using this palette. You're going to have to mix this with something else, but it's amazing. And here I have 4 more of the Anastasia palettes, starting with the Riviera palette. This one is probably the one that I've used the least out of all of them. I'm excited to play around with this and get some looks out of it. So, good stuff. And this one might be one of my absolute favorites of all time, like one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes of all time, because it's literally just so beautiful. You can literally use this all year round, but I really get like fall and winter time vibes, which that's my favorite time of year. This is the Jackie Aina palette, and it's just beautiful, like snake skin, alligator skin, snake skin, I don't know. But the packaging is just beautiful on this, and I feel like this formula, like the formula on this one is like top of the line compared to all the other Anastasia palettes, in my opinion. And so I feel like this one is just the best one that Anastasia has come out with. The Norvina palette, which I also think is gorgeous. If you couldn't tell, mine is a complete mess, but I actually recreated a look by one of my favorite YouTubers, Juicy Jazz. I've already mentioned her a million times on my channel, but she created a look using this palette and the Modern Renaissance palette, which I do plan on recreating as well and putting it on my channel. But that's why it looks like this, because I loved the look so much that I recreated it like a million times. So yes, this one is a mess. And my last Anastasia palette that I have is the Sultry palette. First of all, this packaging, like all of this glitter, yes girl, I love it. And again, super super messy. I'm serious, I love Anastasia's eyeshadow formula. How many times can I say that in one video? I'm gonna shut up about it now. Yes, I love it so much. Next, I have the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette, the Holy Grail palette for everyone on YouTube. And I feel like I get so many different looks with this palette, even though the shades all look the same. As weird as that sounds, but I get so many, and it smells amazing. Good stuff. Next, I have two more palettes from Zoeva. I have the Zoeva Matte palette, which I believe I got in a BoxyCharm, and I tried this out not too long ago, and I really love this. Zoeva has surprisingly shocked me with their eyeshadow palette quality, but I do really trust like when YouTubers talk about certain brands, and so I'm really happy to have this in my collection now. This is the Caramel Melange palette, and do you guys remember this was one of the first featured eyeshadow palettes on my channel at all. This was in my very first video last September, and this is one that I picked up during the Ulta's 21 Days of Beauty. I can't even believe it, you guys. Holy moly. But I love this palette so much. This is the IT Cosmetics Naturally Pretty palette. I just got this actually as a gift from my aunt, and it's a bunch of matte shades, and then this one right here is like a nice like satin one that pairs really well with all of them. And I've done one single look with this, and I actually really liked it, so I'm really excited to try this out even more. But from what I've already tried, this is the first palette that I've ever tried from IT Cosmetics, and I love it. This one here is the balm in the balm of your hand, and it is just a mixture of everything from the balm, but it tells you like what palette they were from. And I got this in an Ipsy glam bag, and I literally just love this palette. You can barely tell that I've made a dent in it, but I use this palette all the time. So I've heard really good things about the balm, and so I'm really excited to see even more of what they have to offer. This palette, oh man, everybody and their mama was talking about this palette. This is the Born to Run palette by Urban Decay, and it is just full of a bunch of colorful shadows. Amazing. So I just love this palette. It is amazing, plus I love this packaging. So yes, you know I'm a sucker for packaging, guys. I've already mentioned it. Okay. This is the Celestial Thunder palette by Dominique Cosmetics. This was made, I believe, exclusively for BoxyCharm. And the colors in here are really pretty. I don't know if I was just not in like the right mindset or what, but I feel like these shadows were just really chalky and kind of hard to blend. It could have been like the ones that I tried to use, but I tried to use this one over here. It's just real chalky, like, I don't know. I know swatches aren't the main factor in how to tell if an eyeshadow is good or not, but I just wasn't impressed. I'm gonna have to test it out again before I decide whether or not I want to keep it or not, but anyway. Next is the Alamar Cosmetics Reina del Caribe palette volume 1, and I love this palette. Let me just tell you, I think that this palette is amazing. I love these two blue shades. I love everything about this palette. I used this palette literally non-stop when I got it in a BoxyCharm, and it's just amazing. Plus I love this yellow, so love it. Next is my second and last palette from Morphe. This is the 15N palette, and it's just, again, a bunch of neutrals with a couple of hints of color down here. And Morphe eyeshadows, I guess, like the whole brand Morphe is like overrated maybe, and so a lot of people don't really talk about this brand anymore, except for the ones who are getting PR or the ones who have like an affiliate code. But I love this palette. I think it's really good quality, and I've personally never had any issues with the brand. I mean, I like this palette, so yeah. We're just gonna move on. This is my last palette from Juvia's Place, and this is the Nomad palette. And I don't know if you could tell, but I've barely touched this palette. But again, with the yellows and the greens, I love this palette, and I got it specifically for fall time looks because I'm just obsessed. I literally think that orange and yellows and greens look great on brown eyes. So I'm really excited to use it during the fall and winter time. Well, mostly fall. Good stuff. Oh my goodness. The Truly Madly Deeply palette by ColourPop. You guys, this was my first ever big palette purchase from ColourPop, and let me just tell you, I love this palette. At first I was like a little skeptical because to me personally, you can't make a full look just using this palette just right off the bat by looking at it. But if you tap off the excess with this shadow right here, you can get the little glitter specks that you see in there. You can get those off of your brush and it'll deepen up the outer corner perfectly, and it's just amazing. Like, I literally love this palette so much. I'm so happy that I got it. It's just beautiful. This palette here again is the palette itself is just from ColourPop and Kathleen Lights. It's part of her like Zodiac collection, I think. Again, this one here is just a bunch of single eyeshadows that I've gotten from the brand ColourPop. I love them. I have 3 glitter shades right here, 2 shimmer shades, and the rest are mattes, except for this one over here. This one's like a satin finish, and I love this palette. I'm so excited that I have decided to create this on my own. I'm really excited. I can't wait to fill the rest of it up. I think I have about 8 more shades that I can put in this palette, so cannot wait. Oh, we're almost done. The Tartiste Pro Amazonian Clay palette. I just got this in a Boxy Luxe. As I mentioned, I was not in a good headspace. I had a lot of stuff going on, but I tried this palette out and it's just really powdery for me. It almost reminds me of the Dose of Colors, that Berries palette by Dose of Colors, the ones with 5 shadows. That's the vibe that I get by using these. They're very powdery, but they blend out perfectly. I don't know how they do that. I honestly get mixed signals from the Tarte like eyeshadows, but I mean, I like this palette, so there it is. This one here is the Sephora Pro palette, and I believe this is the editorial palette, the super colorful one. I was convinced that I didn't have anything like this in my collection. I don't know why, because I have like all of these shades in something else. Who's gonna judge me? I don't care. And the last palette that I have is the Profusion Chocolates palette, and again, it's just a bunch of, actually there's a lot of shimmer shades in here, which I didn't like fully realize, but I really like this one right here in Cypress. It's one of my favorite shadows, and I guess I didn't realize how many shimmers are in here because there's actually a lot of them. But Profusion, you're worth it to me, so I'm in a completely different shirt because I told you guys this was the next day because my battery died and I only have 1 battery. I'm working on it. I just ordered a second battery online. So, but yeah guys, that completes this eyeshadow palette collection video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!